Welcome to another Hippie Cooks, and this one, as the title suggests, Hippie Cooks Grandma's Macaroni again. About a year ago, I did a Grandma's Macaroni. I'm going to put it right here. So if you want to click on that link, you can look at what I did a year ago, but how about watch this? And remember your thumbs up. Remember to subscribe, click that bell, and enjoy the video. Let me know below if you're going to try this. It's one of my favorite meals. It takes a lot of work, but it's well worth it, and it's 2 days at least for a couple of people. Peace. We're in the kitchen. You know that means it's time for Hippie Cooks. Today I am making what we have lovingly called in our family Grandma's macaroni. My kids sometimes call it Dad's macaroni because I definitely have changed the recipe. But that's the whole idea of Hippie Cooks, is I'm going to show you approximately what I do. And you do it your way, because we all should do it our own way. What do I do first with Grandma's macaroni? First thing I do is I get everything I need together. Mise en place. Remember that, everything in its place. Get your stuff ready. That way you can look at it all and say, what am I forgetting? Rather than last minute tasting it and going, oh, I forgot to put that in. So really simple meal, but it does take a lot of preparation. It makes for better flavor. First of all, you need some ground beef. I've got 2 things of ground beef there because first of all, these are ½ pound. They're too small, 3/4 pound. They're too small. You want a pound of ground beef. Pound the ground round is the way my mom used to say it. A pound of ground round. And I usually add a little bit more. So a little bit extra doesn't matter much. And this is really lean ground beef, so there ain't going to be a lot of it there. Anyways, then you need garlic, some onion, some medium cheddar cheese, or strong. Don't go for the mild. You aren't even going to taste it. Couple of cans of tomatoes. I like to have some diced. Oh, that was the whole. I like to have some diced. I like to have some whole. And you'll find out why later. Cutting board, your knives, a couple of frying pans. You need one for the meat sauce. You need one for frying up those onions, which is the first thing we do. You also need a good roasting pan. I just washed this. A good roasting pan, because that's the final place, the living place of that casserole. So pitter patter, let's get at her. Basically, like I say, I never give you a recipe. I go by the seat of my pants, and so should you. Just simply watch this and then modify the way you want. Here is a quick overview. I'm going to make some nice onions. I like to fry the onions for 30 minutes. It not only gets it past the translucent stage, it gets it to where it brings out all the natural sugars. You need very little spice, and it just adds so much flavor. You could just throw the onion into your mix, but you're not going to get really flavorful onions. So I'm going to fry the onions, and as they're frying, I'm going to chop up the garlic. About 15 minutes into the onions cooking, I'm going to add the garlic to it, and at that time I'm going to start browning the beef. Because once the beef is all ground, then we're going to add tomatoes to it, the onions, the garlic that has been fried, and some spices, spice to taste, and we're going to let that sit. Now, you don't have to do like me. I like to make the meat sauce in the morning and let it sit all day, simmering all day. I like those tomatoes to really work through, especially if you're using canned tomatoes. They have a bit of a canned, tinny taste. If you cook them all day, they don't have that anymore. So I'm going to cook the meat sauce in the morning. Then I'm going to go for my walk. After my nap, it's a simple, make your macaroni and grate the cheese, and then we're going to layer it in that pot. And then we're going to bake it for an hour. Sound fun? Strap in, strap on. Stay with me. Here we go. Let's cook. Burger is now added. We're going to cook that on medium high until it's nice and fully cooked. We're going to drain it. You don't need the extra juices. This is going to be good enough. And we're going to add only a little bit of salt and pepper while we cook this ground beef. We're going to do the spice once we add all the tomatoes. So stay tuned. We'll be back when it's tomato time. The onions are ready. The ground beef is ready. So now what we're going to do, and again, this is, I'm not giving the recipe. It's not 2 cups, it's not 4 cups, it's not 2 cans. It's whatever you want to put in. But I'm going to add 1 full can, and this is a big can. These are bigger cans than I had ordered, but oh well. Diced tomatoes. Now, stir that in, and stir in all the onions. Let's get those in there. Now, as you can see, absolutely beautiful. Now give me a minute, I'll get it all together. And then we're going to add some of the stewed tomatoes. I've got whole stewed tomatoes because it's just not going to be rich enough or tomatoey enough yet. You need lots of tomato, not lots of juice, but some juice. We're not making a spaghetti sauce. So, let's watch. There's a couple of reasons I'm doing this early in the day. Let's not put the light behind me. There's a couple of reasons I'm doing this early in the daytime. If I cook that quickly just before it's needed for supper. Well, I forgot to turn the temp way down. Turn it way down to about 3 or 4, medium low to low. We want that to simmer for a really long time. And the juices are going to come out of those diced tomatoes. And as you saw, I started adding the whole tomatoes. I'll add them too, and lots of juice. And we let those juices break down and turn into a sauce. It'll turn into its own sauce, nice and juicy. And we'll even bring that down a bit too. I'm going to put a lid on this and I'm going to cook it all day long. I'm not going to add all the tomatoes. I think I have more than enough, especially with doubling the meat recipe. I don't think I need to double the tomato recipe. And so we are basically, except for babysitting this, every once in a while, turn it. Spicing it, no sense me showing you the spicing of it because the spicing of it takes a long time. I add chili and salt and pepper early at the beginning. And that's it. And then later I'll add a little bit of oregano. I'll add some onion salt, depending on the flavor, because those onions should bring a fair amount of onion flavor. However, if it isn't enough, I'll add some onion salt. I'm going to go by flavor, and all day long I'm going to taste, I'm going to adjust. That kind of thing I can leave for you. So we'll be back when it's time for step 2. Peace. The day has progressed, and so has my meal. It's almost a nap time. It's almost 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's been simmering for a couple hours, and I thought that I would share what it looks like now and what I've done with it so far. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? You want a good lid on this with just you notice this has a little steam hole. You want that. But you don't want to reduce this liquid down to a real thick tomato. You want it to be like this because we're going to be adding all that into the roasting pan. And you'll see, I have added so far, spice-wise, I've added about 1.5 teaspoons, maybe even 2 teaspoons of chili powder, about 2 teaspoons of onion powder because the onion flavor didn't come through. I've added mustard powder and a fair amount of celery salt. Sometimes you can put celery in this. I don't like putting celery in it. The mouthfeel of celery that's been cooked for hours and hours, just not nice. But the taste and the salt that comes from it is beautiful. Oh, and I added a couple of pinches more kosher salt. So far, we have a really good sauce. It just needs to be on very lowest temperature and just simmer the rest of today. And we'll be back. The next job takes about 1.5 hours, and then we're eating supper. So stay tuned. See ya later this evening. It's now 4:30 in the afternoon. This has been simmering for about 4 or 5 hours. I am now heating up a big bucket of water so that I can do a couple of cups of macaroni shells. We'll be right back to do that. And I've got the cheese out, the grater, fill up a bowl of grated cheese because we're going to make layers. 1 layer of macaroni, 1 layer of the meat sauce, 1 layer of cheese, and then repeat. We'll be back. cook that macaroni until it's tender, but not super soft. You want it still a little al dente because we're going to be baking the whole casserole for an hour. So it's going to cook a little more in that wonderful steam from that tomato meat sauce. Stay tuned. I'm preparing my workspace. I've got the cheese. And some people might say that's a bit too much cheese, and I'd say, I don't know who you are. Next, the meat. And yes, there might be too much of that too. Come on. And the roasting pan, which right now has nothing in it, but pretty soon is going to have a couple of layers of each of those. And of course, the macaroni, which I will strain really good, put back in the bowl so that I can have all three here and make my layers, and you're about to watch me do that. Peace. Cover. Put in the oven, 350 for 1 hour to 1.5 hours, and serve. I'll be back. Hey y'all, it is time. And I should have been more careful of the heat coming out of there. But let's have a look at this. Absolutely beautiful. That looks good. Let's get it on some plates. There's only one thing left to do. Let's do it. We're here. The food. And now it's time to test. I've already heard an Cheers. I haven't made this in 5 or 6 years, exactly as I remember it. I'm really enjoying it. Pasha, what do you think?
It's good.
Good?
It's good.
It's good. And Gertie? Better than I remember.
Man.
So that's a good response, and I'm happy, and I'm hungry. So it's time for us to go. Peace and cheers.
Love and harmony.